Hey, happy Friday, Mac family. Pastor Dale, Pastor Steve here. And we wanted to wrap up the week going back to a conversation that Dennis Turner shared last Sunday. And he talked about this thing called a hashtag house, which, Steve, you learned as what?
Well, again, some of us might remember a few years back, I think in January or something, Pastor Mark preached on hashtag home, which, again, same thing.
Now, for us who weren't here, was it essentially a very similar or the same message, just with a different title?
Oh, I think it was, yeah.
Like, exactly?
Yeah.
Like, good.
Very close.
Good, okay. All week long I've been like, you know what? I want to ask you, but I want to ask you on camera so that you have to own it in front of all of us. So whether it's hashtag house or hashtag home, that's not the point. The point is, as people who know Jesus and who want to make a difference in the world, you know, we are being empowered, right, to do that. Maybe it's not as hard as maybe it sounds.
No,
right?
I don't think it has to be.
Yeah. And so today we're here to try to simplify what Pastor Dennis was talking about and reiterate it in a very simple way. Steve has lived in his neighborhood for over 8 years. I've only lived in that neighborhood for a few months. And so he and I are approaching this hashtag home or hashtag house very differently. Right? So we wanted to walk through that a little bit today. But the main point we're trying to make and just reiterate is that, you know, our job is to just be a good neighbor.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Just be a friend.
Yeah.
And we don't need to try to force divine appointments. They're called divine appointments for a reason.
Yeah. Jesus tells us to love our neighbors as ourselves. And so as you go after pursuing neighbors, just go after pursuing a friendship. Just go love them as you would love yourself. And God will take care of the rest. Don't worry about that. I feel like that's what Sarah and I and our boys have tried to do. Again, with kids, it's always, I feel like it's easier with kids because your kids are running to someone's yard and you're like, oh, hi, we're the Jacksons. Is it okay if our kids run through your yard? And and all of a sudden a conversation has started and you get to know people. And sometimes kids attract other kids and all of a sudden you get to know them, get to know their parents. And that definitely helps.
Yeah, and from there, you know, friendship rules apply. You find
Definitely.
common ground, you talk about life, you know. Sooner or later, someone's running out for some milk, and you grab a gallon of milk for your neighbor, or you find out what people need, or someone needs to run somewhere, and you watch the kids for a little while outside or something. And those are all those little tiny steps. I remember growing up, one of my neighbors, her name was Faye, and she always had a bowl of candy. And so how she neighbored was she always had candy available. So terribly, we would knock on her door, I mean, at least once a day. I mean, if it was sunny, it was probably 3-4 times a day, and she would just give out candy.
Yeah.
And it was just a simple way that she was a neighbor. You know, and I think one of our other neighbors, her name was Rosie, and she was like, Rosie and Mac were the king and queen of our neighborhood for like 40 years until the early 90s. And they had everybody's house key. Like, you didn't have to break into anybody's house, just break into their house and get the keys. You know, now I never did that, just for the record.
Sure.
But it was just, they were neighbors, and so they would feed dogs, they would pick up mail, they would just love being available. Yeah. And so, you know, Mac family, if you get anything out of this, we just are encouraging each other just to continue to be available, and that probably requires time. You know, and beyond that, you know, just be a friend. And I think that's kind of the point Dennis was making, that, you know, we want to get from that place of being an acquaintance with our neighbor to actually being a friend. And he kind of gave us some tips on how to do that. And so both Steve and I have done his tips, which is to create a little graph that has a hashtag on it, and then the houses that are just kind of immediately around your house, fill in the information you know. And you're looking for names, you're looking for roles or jobs, and you're looking for things that are important to your neighbors. And just to know those and to get to know those and why those are important. So for me in my few months, you know, I've got 2 houses pretty well named. I've got a few names over here. I've got nothing, just nothing on these houses. And I know this guy's good at yard work, but it's been winter, so I don't know yet. But that's kind of what I know, right? So my hashtag is pretty weak if we were going to judge it. On this page, I just have room for other neighbors, right? And so I'm just going to write it down because, you know, I want to learn their names. And if I write it down, it helps me. When I came to the Mac, you know, I wrote down names. And I had the directory. And I looked at photos. And I made little notes. And so I was hashtag, you know, homing
The Mac.
The Mac, and it's helped me in great ways. So for you, if you're new to your neighborhood like I am, I would highly recommend this. But Steve, you've been in the neighborhood a lot longer, and so your hashtag is a lot bigger than 7.
Yeah, I have 15 here. Again, no one's counting anyone's hashtag. How many squares do you have in your hashtag? No one's counting. Because I have 15, but there's still way more that I still need to get to know. Sure. And again, Sarah and I are no way perfect with this, but again, just having kids in our that has helped us get to know our neighbors. And a lot of the families around us, they have kids as well, our kids' ages, and so we've gotten to know them. And so again, some of it is just from just normal conversation that happens in the backyard, when just saying hi neighbor, hi, as people are arriving home or doing yard work or whatever. But some of it has also been helping out people when, I almost finished the yard and I ran out of gas and I don't have any more gas. And hey, do you need it here? I'll give you a little gas to help you finish this yard here quickly. But then again, we don't have like a secret formula, but again, just one thing that Sarah and I both love ice cream. And so we don't do this every year, but we try to do it every year. We try to just one night in the summer, just invite neighbors over for ice cream sundaes. Yeah. I mean, buy a gallon of chocolate ice cream and a gallon of vanilla ice cream and just a ton of random toppings, and your neighbors show up. And then we get an opportunity to get to know them. And the other interesting thing is, it's been interesting how many neighbors come to that, and they get to know, they didn't know the other neighbors until this time. And so we just have opened up a door for people to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lilburn, my wife, threw a big block party that way, and it was so great for that exact reason, that we met all of our neighbors, but they hadn't met each other. Yeah. And so some people who'd been in the neighborhood for over 20, almost 30 years, didn't know the people who'd been there for a few months like we were, and so, or we are now, so we got to create those connections. I made lousy barbecue. Like, I was trying to make burgers and dogs. I burnt most, and then I undercooked the rest. Nice. And it was like, if you judge it, it was pretty bad. Like a guy in his late 20s. Now, I love a good charcoal grill, and so I was trying to proudly show it off. And many men, volunteered to cook for me, and I probably should have yielded, to me, for probably all the right reasons. But I didn't, Yeah. And so it was messy. But it was a beautiful opportunity to meet the neighbors.
Again, go ice cream. You don't have to, you won't burn it. And it works.
My skills are a little better now. But there's a few people at the Mac that are dead ringers that we can just, be like, hey, come to my house. I need you to do something for me. But again, the point is we're just encouraging us as a church body to commit ourselves to being good friends with our neighbors. Yeah. Let's not try to go off and save the world tomorrow. That might not be what God's asking you to do. I guarantee He wants you to know your neighbors.
Definitely.
Like, I believe that. I believe God wants me to know my neighbors. He doesn't just want me to be the car that leaves the driveway and comes back to the driveway. That's not why He opened the door for me to live where I'm living. Yeah. And because I believe that, it makes me change my attitude. It makes me change my actions, And Definitely. So for us today, some of you, I know, you're just way ahead of us. You've done this. You're doing it. You don't need this. You've got all in your memory. You're better than all of us.
Good job.
Put your gold star right now. Here it comes. But for others of us, we just need some encouragement. Yeah. And some of you've tried, and you've got frustrated, or you tried for a while, and now it's been like on the back burner for a number of reasons in your life. And we don't want to put any unnecessary guilt on anybody's shoulder right now. We want to encourage us all to just take that next step, to go to the next level. And whether you resonate with #home because it's been years of this kind of in your life now, or if #house is the thing that's, kind of got you moving and saying, okay, I can start again, so to speak. Again, that's what this whole thing's about. And we really believe that God, is just teaching us how to love people better.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mac family, and any neighbors who see this, there's a small chance, fraction of a chance that the neighbors who I'm trying to befriend might see this. And if any of them saw this, or any of your neighbors see this moment, what I hope they hear is not that we're like magically out to get somebody, because that's not what it's about. And the beautiful thing about the gospel is meant to overflow our lives. We're not trying to manufacture something we don't have. And so just to be a good neighbor, that's enough. Yeah. Like, Christ will come through that. If Christ is in you, he will come out of you.
Yeah.
And so to take the pressure off of having all the right things to say, or or even trying to create divine moments, like God creates divine moments. That's why we call them divine, and just to be yourself and to love your neighbor and to have courage, and even and especially for the people who are not like you in your neighborhood. Yeah. You could be the agent of racial reconciliation in your neighborhood. You could be an agent of generational discrepancy that comes into this place of friendship.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing to be a part of. And so we just encourage you, Mac family, to step out in faith, and to create a hashtag home or house, whatever you want to do. But put it on paper if you need it, especially. So you can remember names, you can remember roles and jobs people are in, and certainly remember the things that are important to your neighbors as you think about them, as you pray for them, and as you get to know more in the days to come.
Definitely.
We love you, Mac family. We'll see you soon.